Hello everyone, and welcome back to Living Wisdom and Dharma World. Today we're stepping into one of the most profound, subtle, and transformative schools of Buddhist thought, the school of consciousness only, known in Sanskrit as Yogācāra and in Chinese as Wei Shi Zong. When people first hear consciousness only, they sometimes misunderstand it as saying that the world is imaginary or that nothing exists outside our heads. That's not what this teaching is pointing to. Yogācāra is not philosophical denial, it is a path of awakening. It is a way of looking so deeply into experience that the roots of suffering and liberation are revealed, right where perception, thought, and emotion arise. This teaching asks a daring question. What if the way we experience reality is inseparable from the mind that knows it? And if that's so, then where exactly does awakening take place? Today, we'll explore where consciousness only came from, the great masters who shaped it, its key ideas, its influence across Buddhist traditions, and most importantly, how it helps us move toward enlightenment in daily life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to inspire others on their path of discovery. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your reflections may spark meaningful conversations and mutual growth. Together, let's start our exploration. The origins of Yogācāra, a response to lived experience. The Yogācāra school arose in India around the 4th century, during a period when Mahayana Buddhism was deeply reflecting on the meaning of emptiness, compassion, and liberation. Earlier teachings, especially Madhyamaka, emphasized that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. This was revolutionary, but for many practitioners, it raised a practical question. If everything is empty, how do delusion, karma, suffering, and liberation actually function in lived experience? Yogācāra emerged as a compassionate response to that question. It did not reject emptiness. Instead, it explored how emptiness is misunderstood and why the mind continues to construct a world of grasping even after hearing the Dharma. The Yogācāra masters turned inward not to retreat from reality, but to examine the mechanisms of perception itself. They asked, how does consciousness arise? How does it divide the world into subject and object? And how does this division become the very seed of suffering? The foundational scriptural source for this tradition is the Sadhanirmukana straw, the straw explaining the profound meaning. In it, the Buddha declares that earlier teachings on emptiness were sometimes misunderstood, and that a deeper, clearer explanation was necessary. The straw says, all phenomena are representations of consciousness. Because of not understanding this, beings wander in sasra. This is not a metaphysical claim. It is a diagnosis of confusion. The great founders, Asāga and Vasubandhu. Two brothers stand at the heart of Yogācāra, Asāga and Vasubandhu. Asāga is remembered not only as a scholar, but as a tireless practitioner. According to tradition, after years of meditation with little success, he eventually encountered Maitreya Bodhisattva, who transmitted profound Yogācāra teachings to him. Whether we read this literally or symbolically, it expresses something important. Yogācāra was born from deep meditative realization, not abstract speculation. Asāga's works, especially the Mahanasagraha, systematized Yogācāra as a complete path, integrating ethics, meditation, wisdom, and compassion. Vasubandhu, originally a master of early Buddhist Abhidharma, later embraced his brother's teachings. His 30 verses on consciousness only, Trisik, remains one of the most concise and powerful summaries of the school. Vasubandhu writes, due to the power of habit energy, consciousness appears as external objects, though no such objects exist apart from consciousness. This single verse has shaped centuries of Buddhist contemplation. The 8 consciousnesses, mapping the inner world. One of Yogācāra's most influential contributions is its teaching on the 8 consciousnesses. Earlier Buddhism spoke of 6, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind consciousness. Yogācāra noticed that these 6 alone could not explain the depth of habitual patterns and karmic continuity. So the tradition pointed out 2 deeper layers. The 7th consciousness, manas, is the subtle, constant activity of self-grasping. It takes the flow of experience and quietly whispers, "This is me, this is mine." Even when we intellectually reject a solid self, this consciousness continues to cling. Beneath that is the 8th consciousness, the Laya Vijna or storehouse consciousness. This is not a soul. It is a dynamic field where karmic seeds are stored, ripen, and give rise to future experiences. The Yogācāra reminds us, by understanding the functioning of mind, afflictions lose their power. This is a revolutionary statement. It means liberation does not require destroying the mind, only understanding it clearly. The Satinirmacana straw describes it beautifully. Like a river flowing with seeds, consciousness supports the arising of all worlds. Every intention, every reaction, every moment of awareness plants a seed. Over time, these seeds shape how the world appears to us. Seeds, habits, and karma. Why the world feels so solid. Yogācāra explains karma not as divine reward or punishment, but as habitual momentum. What we repeatedly think, feel, and do becomes the lens through which reality is perceived. Anger plants seeds of hostility. Compassion plants seeds of openness. Fear plants a world that feels threatening. Because these seeds ripen automatically, the world seems out there, independent and fixed. But Yogācāra gently turns our attention back to the process itself. Vasubandhu says, "What appears as object is only the transformation of consciousness." Again, this doesn't deny shared reality. It shows us why suffering feels inevitable, and therefore how it can be transformed. The Yogācāra says, "Through repeated cultivation, the mind becomes pliant and capable of knowing reality as it is." This reminds us that patience is not weakness, it is wisdom in motion. Emptiness revisited, the 3 natures. To prevent misunderstanding, Yogācāra articulated the 3 natures. The imagined nature is the world as we assume it to be, solid, divided, filled with fixed identities, enemy, success, failure, me. The dependent nature is the flow of causes and conditions, including consciousness, karma, perception, and habit. Nothing exists independently here. The perfected nature is reality seen without distortion, the absence of the false subject-object split. The Straths say, the perfected nature is the absence of imagined nature with independent nature. In other words, enlightenment is not gaining something new. It is seeing clearly what has always been happening. The Yogācāra teaches how this insight matures gradually, through meditation and ethical living rather than sudden intellectual realization. Influence across Asia, from China to Japan and Tibet. Yogācāra profoundly shaped East Asian Buddhism. In China, it became the Faxiang school, translated and systematized by the great monk Xuanzang, who traveled to India at immense personal risk to bring back authentic teachings. Xuanzang emphasized precision, not to trap practitioners in concepts, but to prevent distortion of practice. In Japan, Yogācāra influenced the Hoso school, and its psychological insights permeated Zen, Tendai, and Pure Land traditions. In Tibet, Yogācāra ideas were integrated into Madhyamaka systems, especially in discussions of mind, perception, and meditation. Even today, modern psychology and contemplative science quietly echo Yogācāra insights about perception shaping reality. Consciousness only and enlightenment, where liberation happens. Yogācāra is sometimes criticized as overly intellectual. In truth, it is deeply practical. It tells us exactly where to look when suffering arises. Enlightenment in this view is the transformation of consciousness. The storehouse consciousness is purifying. The self-grasping of the 7th consciousness dissolves. The six sense consciousnesses function freely, without projection. The Yogācāra says, when consciousness no longer grasps consciousness, that is liberation. This is a moment-to-moment release. The Yogācāra shows that this release happens not all at once, but through steady, compassionate training. Practicing Yogācāra in daily life. So how do we practice this? Not in monasteries, but in traffic, at work, in relationships? First, we begin with gentle awareness. When a strong emotion arises, instead of immediately blaming the situation, we ask, what consciousness is appearing right now? What habit is being activated? Second, we work with intention. Each wholesome thought, each pause instead of reaction plants new seeds. Over time, the world truly changes because the mind that meets it has changed. Third, we practice non-dual seeing. In meditation, notice how thoughts, sensations, and perceptions arise together. Where exactly is the boundary between inside and outside? Finally, we cultivate compassion. Yogācāra teaches us that everyone lives inside their own karmic world. Understanding this softens judgment and deepens empathy. As the Yogācāra reminds us, by knowing consciousness, one knows the world. By transforming consciousness, one transforms the world. When emotions arise, we pause and observe instead of immediately reacting. When judgment appears, we notice the habit behind it. Each moment of awareness plants a new seed. The Yogācāra gently assures us, when the mind is well trained, suffering does not take root. This training happens in conversations, in difficulty, and even in moments of failure. Closing, the mind as the path. The school of consciousness only does not trap us inside our heads. It points us directly to freedom. It shows us that awakening is not elsewhere, not in a distant heaven, not in abstract philosophy, but right here in the way experience is known moment by moment. When we understand consciousness, we stop fighting the world. When we transform consciousness, the world becomes a field of awakening. Here, enlightenment is not an escape from life. It is a deep re-education of how we see, feel, and respond. Thank you for walking this path with me today. May your awareness be clear, your seeds be wholesome, and your journey toward enlightenment unfold naturally, moment by moment, and step by step. Thank you for listening. If you found this teaching helpful, please like, subscribe, and share so others can benefit from the Dharma. Feel free to share your reflections in the comments below. May all beings awaken to true peace and liberation.